What's up, everyone? It's Brian from the Exact IT Solutions and Exact Cybersecurity YouTube channel. Welcome to another video where we help educate you about the threats that are out there and what you can start doing to protect yourself. So hackers are coming after your Office 365 and the data that's within it. So let's get into it in today's video. Okay guys, so the reason I wanted to do this video is because I talk to a lot of business people out there, and there's this misconception about cloud in general, and what cloud does and what cloud doesn't do. And unfortunately for a lot of people, they don't understand that when they move things to the cloud, and in this case, let's just keep it simple and talk about Microsoft 365, your OneDrive, and your SharePoint. You know, these places where you can now store files that you traditionally either stored on your computer or a file server at your office or something like that. And now we see companies moving this information to M365. They've made it really convenient, and they've done a good job, I've said this before, through COVID, of really making sure that companies embrace the M365 and the Azure platform. So we see companies moving there. And when companies move there, what they don't realize is that they sign these things called terms of services, the little fine legal print, probably not little, probably very big, that you sign when you sign up for these services. And what most people are surprised to find out is that Microsoft is not responsible for your data backups, for actually protecting your data, and they're not responsible for your security. And hackers know this, and hackers love this. So here's what's going on. Hackers, if they're able to get your login information for Office 365, are taking advantage of this, and they know it. They don't need to break into your network now. They just need to get a username and password, and you know, they can infect one user, or depending on the level of access, they can infect multiple users. And because, you know, people are at times self-managing their M365, or they're having employees sign up for these accounts, and they don't really have an IT professional or cybersecurity professional advising them, we've seen it multiple times where companies have given global admin rights to regular users throughout their Azure and M365 environment. So this means that basically you're giving your employees, your users, what's equivalent to domain admin rights or high-level admin rights for the entire environment. So if you think about this from the perspective of pre-cloud, you know, this would be somebody who's a network administrator who can basically do whatever they want on your network. Well, the same thing exists in the cloud. You can have, you know, these administrators who have very, you know, specific rights, or they have very broad rights to do whatever they want in your environment. And hackers know this, and they're taking advantage of it. And what they're doing is, once they get access to your cloud, now remember, they don't need to be on your computer, on your network. They just have to have a valid login, a valid username and password to get to this data. And what they're doing is they're going in and they're encrypting this data, and they're dropping, you know, ransomware notes into the OneDrive account, or they're sending you a message or an email letting you know that this information has been encrypted. They're not changing the passwords on these accounts. They're letting you get back into them, and they're letting you see, like, hey, we've encrypted this information. Now, most people think, and this is why I'm creating this video today, is because most people think that Microsoft is protecting them, that they can go to Microsoft and get these files back. Well, there's a couple things you need to know about this that are important. Number one, Microsoft has versioning in things like OneDrive and SharePoint. And you can set that versioning to, let's say by default, it's 500. So that means you can go back 500 versions of this file and potentially get it. So if the hacker is not smart and they encrypt one version, or they only do the encryption one time or change the file one time, then theoretically you could go back to a version and get that back. However, cybercriminals kind of know what they're doing a little bit, and they are rewriting these files over 500 times or whatever your limit is, and depending on the level of access they have in your environment, they may be able to change that to one version. If they have access to get to the settings where you actually set the number of versions for your organization. So this is a pretty big deal because hackers know this. So as long as they can get rid of these versions, this really leaves you high and dry with very little options to get your files back other than paying the cyber criminals who encrypted your files and caused this problem for you. Your other option is to go to backups. Now here's the other important thing you need to know. Microsoft does not do these backups. Now Microsoft is claiming that you can call Microsoft support and get assistance on these recoveries, and they can go back further up to 14 days back. So this is kind of what Microsoft is out there saying, but security researchers have proven otherwise. And quite frankly, if you've ever dealt with Microsoft support, I wouldn't rest or put my eggs in that basket that my backups are going to be there and that Microsoft is going to take care of those things for me, because 18 years plus running this company and 20 plus years in IT, the last company I want to call for support is Microsoft. And there's a few other companies that are right behind them on that list, but Microsoft is at the top of the list for companies that I really don't want to be calling for support because it's just a big fat waste of time. So this is what you need to do. You need to make sure that your cloud applications are backed up. I talk about this often. Anything that exists in the cloud in your business that you rely on to make money, things that you want to consider so you don't lose clients, you have to look at all this stuff in the cloud. So let's just talk about Kronos real quick as an example. Kronos Cloud was infected with ransomware at the end of 2021, and that bled into early 2022. And this company could not operate their software, could not get it up and running for months. And this impacted their customers who use this HR platform to manage HR for various companies out there. And these companies could not do their HR and could not perform this function within their business. So it's not just about the files and the data. It's about looking at all the things in your business that you use to run. So if you're an HR company or you're a payroll company and you resell these services to your clients and the bigger company like Kronos is down, what does that mean to your business? How do you continue to provide a service for something that you don't even control and you don't even know when it's going to get back up and running? So these are all things that you should be looking at as part of your incident response plan. If you need help with that, please contact my company. These are things that we help companies with all the time. And the other piece of this is that you also need to make sure that that you have a good data backup plan for your cloud applications. Make sure your OneDrive's backed up. Make sure that your SharePoint's backed up, or wherever you're storing your data out there. Make sure you have a way to get that downloaded locally, so it doesn't even have to be that your company got attacked. What if M365 is down? What if SharePoint is down? What if OneDrive is down? Whatever file sharing service you're using, Dropbox, what are these services that you need to operate your business or your employees need to work every day? What's your backup plan for those things? Because these things can go down, and they can go down for extended periods of time. And if these things are data or systems that are going to impact your business, these are the things you need to be looking at to have a backup plan for when these events do occur, because they will occur, whether it's ransomware, fires, floods, internet outages, what have you. It's important that you have a backup plan, and this is all tied to that. So remember, hackers go where the data is. They go where they know they can make money. They know that it's getting harder and harder to break into corporate networks for various reasons. But they can target one employee at a time, and they can target them for credentials to log into things like M365 and cloud applications. And they can hold one employee hostage, or they can hold an entire company hostage. They don't care. Obviously, the bigger things, the more things that they can encrypt, the more things they can get their hands on, the higher the ransom demand is going to be. So it's important that you start looking at cloud applications from the aspect of how do we have a backup of that? Because you don't want to rely on the vendor. That's proven to fail time and time again. You need to be responsible for your own assets, your own data, your own systems, and make sure you have a way to continue to operate if these things are not available to you. And the same thing goes if your own data gets encrypted. Now, the other last thing I want to mention to you is there's two attack vectors that we're seeing around these kind of M365 breaches that where ransomware gets deployed. One of them is pure cloud, where they just steal the information, steal the credentials, and they log in as you, and they get in, and they start encrypting the files, right? So number one, you want to make sure that you have two-factor turned on. If you have two-factor turned on, at least you have a chance to stop them before they get to the data, if you do everything correctly. The other thing too is not only do you want to have multi-factor turned on, is you want to make sure that you're not giving massive amounts of rights to people to do various things within your Microsoft or Azure environment. Make sure that you only give the rights that the particular individual needs to do their job. And the final thing that I'm going to leave you with here is that you also need to make sure that your cloud data is backed up. Exact IT Solutions can provide you with services and solutions that will get your M365 or any of the things that you have out in the cloud backed up somewhere external. So should that service not work, have a problem, you want to make sure that that's backed up. But the other thing too is, the last thing I'm going to leave you with is, rarely do we see somebody's computer get encrypted along with the cloud, but that is a possibility depending on the level of access they have. Typically, we've only seen the computers and the data locally get encrypted, and while on the other hand, maybe they don't look at or touch the cloud or get access to the cloud. And we're starting to see cybercriminals turn their sights on, once we get into an environment, where can we find the cloud stuff? Where is the cloud stuff? This is where they're starting to look. And the reason I want to bring this up is because this traditionally has not been the way that they've operated, and I think we're going to see a big change here in the near future as how cyber criminals go about deploying things like ransomware and getting paid and encrypting files. It's not only going to affect local data, it's also going to affect cloud data at the same time. So get yourself protected, get your incident response plan in place, but make sure you're backing up your cloud data, and make sure you have backup systems or failover systems for when your cloud applications and those types of systems are not available to you and your business. And if you have any questions, drop them down below or contact my company, xitx.com. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We'll see you in the next video.